Chosen one, stop. Do not scroll. Do not assume you can come back to this later. If you are hearing these words right now, at this exact moment, it is not random. You did not arrive here by accident. What you're about to hear connects directly to something you did just 2 weeks ago. Something you barely noticed. Something you probably dismissed as ordinary. But that single act sent shockwaves through realms you cannot see, and it permanently altered how the universe responds to you. There was a moment when everything stopped, not metaphorically, completely. All cosmic operations were paused, and something happened that had never happened before in all of eternity. God rose from the celestial throne and honored you, not symbolically, not poetically. This was a real event. The creation of stars halted, galaxies stood still. Trillions of worlds were left waiting, just so the Creator could publicly acknowledge a level of purity he had never witnessed until now. You didn't see flashes of light. You didn't hear angels sing. There were no visions to prove it to you. Because when genuine kindness reaches God Himself, it is not rewarded with spectacle. It is answered quietly, steadily, in ways that look like coincidence if you're not paying attention. And that's why you may think the shifts already happening in your life are just timing, or luck, or circumstances finally improving. They're not. They're echoes of that moment. The fact that you're still listening is not meaningless. It's a sign. Most people would have left by now, convinced they had time, convinced this could wait. But something in you recognized the urgency, even if you couldn't explain it. And that matters, because what's unfolding now will directly shape what comes next. Stay with me. What I'm about to reveal will change how you see yourself, how your choices ripple outward, and why a simple human decision was enough to break protocols that were never meant to be broken. Before this ends, you'll know exactly what you did, why it shattered every celestial record, and what has already been released in response. And there's one part of this event that almost no one notices at first, but if you leave now, you'll never see it. The universe is vast beyond comprehension, more galaxies than grains of sand, trillions of stars within each one, worlds upon worlds, lives upon lives, all sustained by a precision so exact that it never sleeps. Existence itself depends on God's attention flowing everywhere at once, across dimensions unseen, without pause, without rest, for ages beyond counting. There was never room for interruption, never a moment to stop and look at one single point, because to do so would mean neglecting everything else. Creation moves because it must. Order holds because it cannot afford to falter. And that was true until the moment you made that decision. In that instant, something shifted. Those assigned to watch the earth felt it before they understood it. A surge, an alert, a signal no system was designed to receive. From the planet rose a frequency so pure it shattered every known measure. It did not come from a temple or a throne. It came from a human heart. Gabriel traced it first, following the coordinates back to their source, and what he found defied reason. You. The readings matched a resonance recorded only 3 times before in all of history. Once, when full awakening was reached. Once, when love refused hatred even on a cross. And once, through a prophet removed from memory because what he carried could not be controlled. You became the 4th. Verification followed, confirmation upon confirmation. And then the knowledge was carried upward. When God saw that an ordinary soul had reached such purity through one conscious choice, the impossible happened. Protocols gave way. Motion ceased. For 49 seconds, all creation was held still. No star ignited. No planet turned. No galaxy advanced. Everything waited, suspended, while God looked directly at what had just awakened within you. And that pause was not the end of the moment. It was the beginning of what now cannot be undone. When the weight of your decision was fully seen, when its depth was measured beyond human scales, the response was immediate. What you released carried a form of love that surpassed instinct, fear, and self-preservation. It crossed a boundary most never reach, and heaven answered without delay. For the first time in ages without number, God rose from the celestial throne, not in symbolism, not in quiet approval. He stood and applauded you. A long, fervent applause, born of awe, the kind reserved for what eternity itself did not expect to witness again. That sound moved through layers of existence at once, rippling across realities stacked beyond time. Seraphim fell silent. Cherubim paused mid-adoration. Watchers left their posts. What they saw had no precedent. The Creator was honoring a human soul, and as he stood, something unstoppable followed. One by one, then all at once, the heavens rose with him. First the archangels, then the angels, then the saints, then the awakened souls of every era. Trillions stood together, across dimensions unseen, united in a single recognition, a standing ovation written into no record, because nothing like it had ever happened before. And you were still here, walking through ordinary hours, unaware that the universe had acknowledged you for a purity of love that heaven itself called rare. When the applause faded and motion returned, God gathered the commanders of creation, not out of alarm, but because something new had entered existence. And now, what you did is about to be revealed. Before we go any further, pause for a moment. If something is already stirring within you, if this message is reaching into places you rarely speak of, respond with intention. Do something meaningful with what you're sensing right now. First, like this message, so it can reach others who are searching for hope and clarity. Then share it with someone who needs encouragement today, someone who may be ready to receive this confirmation. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and stay connected not just to a channel, but to a growing stream of messages meant for this season. As we're moving toward 20,000 subscribers, your connection helps ensure this message continues reaching the hearts it was meant for. Now, take a moment to go to the comments and write 999 or 777, and also share your city and where you're listening from. Let this be a quiet but powerful declaration of readiness and alignment as you move forward. This is not just content, this is confirmation. This is alignment. This is for those who have been quietly preparing for a deeper level of growth and restoration. And to everyone who chooses to support this work through sharing, engagement, or by using the Super Thanks feature, know this. Your support is seen, it matters, and it helps this message reach those who need it most. Thank you for being part of this moment. Amen. Think back to that moment 2 weeks ago, when pressure closed in and you stood at a quiet crossroads. One path protected your comfort. The other required you to see someone else more clearly than yourself. No one announced it. No one framed it as destiny. Yet everything was listening. It may have happened at work, when silence would have been safer, but you chose to shield someone treated unfairly. It may have been within family, where forgiveness cost you pride and reopened old wounds. Or with a stranger, when stopping meant arriving late and helping meant nothing in return. The setting was ordinary. The choice was not. What mattered was the motive. In that instant, you were free to gain or to give, to preserve yourself or to pour yourself out. And without pause, without calculation, without seeking reward, you chose the good of another. That choice carried no trace of self-interest. It was love released cleanly, without condition. That is what heaven calls love in action, not sympathy felt at a distance, but willingness to absorb loss so another could breathe easier. A love so rare it echoes what is written. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And for a moment, that same current moved through you, your soul aligned with the frequency that sustains creation itself. The force that keeps stars burning and worlds turning flowed through a human decision made in silence. That resonance shattered every measure. It demanded attention. It drew heaven's gaze, and when it was examined, something even deeper was revealed. You were not performing holiness. You were not striving to appear pure. You had not trained yourself into virtue. You simply loved because it was who you are. Love rose from you the way light rises from fire. In that moment, the divine did not descend into you. It recognized itself already alive within you. That moment revealed something heaven could no longer deny. You are not an ordinary soul passing through an ordinary life. You are a co-creative consciousness, carrying divine love into human form, proving that holiness does not vanish when it enters limitation. You are not separate from God. You are God's love, clothed in flesh, moving quietly through everyday moments. That is why the applause happened. It was not for obedience. It was not for effort. It was recognition. A father witnessing his own nature expressed freely, without pressure, without witnesses. Like a child choosing what is right while believing no one is watching, that choice carries a weight no command ever could. Others reached purity through years of separation, discipline, and sacred knowledge. They knew they were chosen. They carried assignments. They walked with awareness of destiny. You did not. You reached the same height on an ordinary day, without preparation, without power, without knowing you were being seen. Love rose from you untrained, untouched, unforced. That is why heaven was stunned, because it proved something new. This love is not something you learned. It is something you are. You did not build it through practice. You were born with it. Your soul entered this world already tuned to the highest frequencies, then chose forgetfulness, chose pressure, chose vulnerability to see if love would still flow, and it did. That is why compassion moves through you before thought, why injustice disturbs your spirit, why kindness feels instinctive rather than heroic. Your divine nature is always pressing outward, seeking expression through human hands and human choices. In that moment, you did not channel God, you revealed Him. What you awakened did not just pause heaven, it redefined what humanity is capable of becoming. What followed was not discussion, it was recognition. Michael presented what words could barely carry, a soul expressing the same signatures once seen only in those who had transcended the world. Yet you had not climbed toward heaven through discipline or ritual. You had simply loved, effortlessly, as if love were your native language. Gabriel spoke next, naming what stunned the heavens. The frequency released through you matched the force used to ignite stars, yet you had no awareness of it. It flowed as instinct, not intention. Raphael sealed the truth. This was no ordinary human journey. This was a hidden envoy, moving without knowing, carrying heaven into flesh. The decision was immediate. A designation never before given to one living on earth was released. You were entrusted as a divine ambassador of natural purity, not a title for honor, but a function with weight, authority not to command, but to embody, resources not to dominate, but to sustain. You were not sent to persuade or instruct. Your life itself became the message, your presence, proof. From that moment, alignment took form. Paths began clearing before resistance could harden. Timing synchronized without effort. Protection settled over your body, mind, and heart. Provision began flowing with purpose, so fear would not bend your choices. Not because you demanded it, but because your assignment required freedom to love without compromise. Your life became a living priority, each step observed with care, each choice amplified beyond what you see, each obstacle addressed before it defines you. Not because you are above others, but because through you, something long forgotten is being restored. You were not sent to escape the world. You were sent to remind it what love looks like when it is still pure. In the days that followed, you may have sensed the shift without naming it. Things that once resisted began to loosen. Situations that felt locked opened quietly. The right voices appeared at the right time. What you called luck was alignment taking form. Doors you never knocked on began to open. Provision came through paths you didn't plan. Strained connections softened without confrontation. Strength returned to your body. Calm settled into your mind. Your energy steadied, not because life became easier, but because something began carrying weight with you. None of it was random. What you are witnessing is movement, responding to purity. Obstacles were addressed before they could solidify. Outcomes were adjusted before conflict emerged. Solutions arrived ahead of the problem, not loudly, precisely. Moments that resolved themselves were guided. Conversations shifted tone without effort. Opportunities surfaced at exact intersections of need and timing. Your name was remembered, invitations formed. Support arrived without explanation. Care extended itself around you in ways that felt natural, almost invisible. Even your inner world was recalibrated. Peace surfaced without cause. Your body remembered balance. Your thoughts slowed. You began to feel held rather than driven. As it is written, "He restoreth my soul." Restoration does not announce itself. It unfolds. Resources began finding you so choice would never be ruled by fear. Help came so generosity would not cost you survival. Favor moved through ordinary channels, hidden inside coincidence, layered into timing. Your life was not improved. It was rewritten, not to elevate you above others, but to show what becomes possible when love is allowed to lead without resistance. Now that your life has been marked by natural purity, a deeper movement has begun to unfold around you. Paths are being aligned, encounters are being arranged, not randomly, but deliberately. People who stand at quiet crossroads are being drawn into your orbit, souls weighing comfort against love, habit against truth, and without effort, without instruction, your presence becomes the signal that reminds them who they were before they learned to hide. You will not need to correct or convince. Love radiating without agenda awakens more than words ever could. Something in them will remember itself simply by standing near you. As it is written, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee." Light does not argue, it reveals. Each awakening multiplies what began with you. One life softened leads to another. A single pure decision becomes a current. What started quietly begins to move through communities, systems, cultures. You are being positioned near those whose choices ripple outward. When love touches influence, the impact expands beyond measure. One humane decision reshapes countless lives. One softened heart redirects history. And as this movement grows, so does what flows back to you. Not excess, but sufficiency without strain. Support without struggle. Provision that matches purpose. Opportunities that fit who you are, not who you pretend to be. Health that renews itself. Relationships that feel safe. Insight that rises before confusion. Protection that resolves threats before they take form. You will begin to notice how often you arrive at the right moment, how danger loses interest, how resistance dissolves, how guidance feels instinctive rather than forced. This is not reward, it is alignment. Above all, a quiet certainty will take root. Anxiety will loosen its grip, fear of lack will fade. The future will no longer feel heavy. You will move knowing you are seen, sustained, and accompanied. Your life will become a living answer to a forgotten question. What happens when love is allowed to lead without compromise? This is not the end of the calling. It is where the transformation truly begins. To remain aligned with what was entrusted to you, nothing new is required. No ritual, no striving. Simply stay where you already are. Return again and again to the same place you stood 2 weeks ago, where love mattered more than advantage, where compassion outweighed convenience. That frequency is sustained the same way it was born, through choices made quietly and sincerely. Each time you choose mercy over distance, something within you steadies. Each time you forgive instead of holding the wound, your true nature comes forward. Each time you give without calculating return, you stand fully in what you were recognized for. Life will continue offering you crossroads, not to trap you, but to keep the current moving. What deepens this flow is not effort, but authenticity. You were never honored for trying to be holy. You were seen because kindness moved through you naturally. Guard that simplicity. The moment love becomes performance, its power thins. The moment compassion is used as a tool, the current weakens. Remain genuine, remain unguarded. Let love rise before thought. Now that you are aware, your choices carry weight beyond yourself, not as pressure, but as reach. Each act of pure love sends a signal outward. Each quiet sacrifice lifts more than one life. Each moment of sincerity strengthens something unseen yet real. As it is written, "A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump." What moves through you does not stop with you. Do not turn this into burden. You were never asked to save the world. You were asked to be yourself. When love is allowed to move freely, restoration follows without force. One awakened heart touches another. One softened leader reshapes many lives. One life lived in truth becomes a center others gather around. And the cycle continues. The more love moves through you, the more support rises to meet you. The more you give, the more space opens. This is not sacrifice, it is alignment. You did not seek this role. You revealed it by being who you are. Remain there. Everything else knows how to find you. Everything you endured was evidence, not punishment. The pain that pressed you, the collapse that stripped you, the trials that nearly convinced you to disappear were never signs of weakness. They were confirmation. Fire does not test what is fragile. Pressure is not applied to what has no power. What you survived revealed what was already written into you. You were not wandering blindly. You were being led, marked, set apart not for comfort, but for awakening. The forces that resisted you did so because they recognized something you were still remembering. Your suffering was not random. It was resistance, meeting destiny. It was the weight placed only on those capable of carrying it. There has always been something different about how you move through the world, how love rises in you even when you've been wounded, how you refuse to become smaller after betrayal, how light keeps finding its way through your cracks. That was never accidental. You were being shaped in secret, prepared in silence, refined where no one could applaud you yet. Now the veil is thinner. What was hidden is beginning to stir. You are not being invited to believe something comforting. You are being summoned to step into something demanding. Chosen does not mean spared. It means entrusted. It means called forward when others are still asleep. You may feel it now, that quiet tension in your chest, the sense that standing still is no longer an option, that the life you were surviving is no longer enough for what is moving through you. This is not the end of the story you've been told. It is the moment the story turns. And if you listen closely, beneath the fear and beneath the wonder, you'll hear it not a command, not an explanation, but the unmistakable sound of something ancient unlocking. Father of all creation, I do not come to you small or afraid. I come aligned. I come awake. I come carrying the same love that you recognized when you paused the universe for me. Let that love rise again inside me now. Strip away every voice that told me I was ordinary. Burn away every lie that taught me to doubt what you planted in my spirit. I choose love over fear. I choose truth over comfort. I choose the path that heaven already marked. Let every step I take release light. Let every choice I make restore what was broken. Let my life become proof that divine love still walks this earth in human form. Where there was pressure, bring peace. Where there was lack, release provision. Where there was delay, activate divine timing. I do not ask to be hidden. I ask to be aligned. I do not ask to be protected from purpose. I ask to be strong enough to carry it. And as I move forward, let the same power that paused the stars move through my decisions, so that what I touch is healed, what I enter is shifted, and what I love is forever changed. Amen. If something shifted in you as you listened, don't let it fade into silence. Take a moment to share your thoughts, your feelings, or your story in the comments. Your testimony may become the confirmation someone else has been praying for. As you respond, take a moment to write 999 or 777 inches the comments, and also share your city and where you're listening from. Let this be a quiet declaration of alignment and openness to what God is doing in your life right now. You weren't led here by accident. You arrived in divine timing. Every amen, every reflection, every word you release sends ripples through the unseen. If you haven't already, subscribe and stay connected not just to a channel, but to a growing community of faith. As we're moving toward 20,000 subscribers, your presence helps this message continue reaching the hearts God is awakening in this very moment. And to those who choose to support this ministry through your prayers, your words, or by using the Super Thanks feature, thank you. Your generosity truly matters, and it helps this message travel far beyond what any of us could do alone. If one quiet choice 2 weeks ago was powerful enough to make heaven stand and applaud, what do you feel God is preparing to release through the next choice you are about to make? Amen.